It's springtime of 2022, and we are going to put together a little collage of some randomness from this spring. We came across Rain Tank, and then on the map it said there was this blue station house, and we were wondering what that is. We'd been told by friends that Rain Tank always has water in it, and so in looking for a place to take the ducks, we thought it would be cool, and then we took a travel down the forest roads to the blue station house as well. It was very neat, and here we go. And our neighbor has a bird feeder and was putting feed out and attracted all these cute little birds, but then they went away and all the birds were there looking for their food, so we decided to feed the birds instead in our yard. And these are some of the cuties that came to enjoy food. I love the way they eat down on the ground. We would actually put it up on the log. You'll see a little log sticking up in a minute that they're around, and then the birds that would eat off the log would knock it down onto the ground, and these little kids would come along. Of course, always love to have the doves around. Look at that thing. What a funny little bird. The doves, though, it was interesting. I was reading about the little brown and black birds, and that they like to stick around other birds, safety in numbers, so they don't have to defend themselves, but they just don't want to, they're just going to chase the doves off. So, yeah, I guess they got a good system. I don't know. Okay, so here's where this leads to, is in feeding the birds outside, it also attracted some of the other local neighbors, and the next clip you're going to see is going to be what happens when some of the other critters that frequent our neighborhood are on to us and realize that we have bird seed. We had put some right at the base of our steps because it's nice to have the birds so close by, and they'll come up on the railing and we can see them and all that, and that backfired on us big time. You'll see that in a minute.
What are you doing? What are you doing? You're crazy. No, you can't come in. You're crazy. Hey. Hey. Get from my door. You're nuts, man. You're nuts. Go away.
Nope, no but.
Bye, kids.
Have a great day. Don't forget to ride.
So here's where this all ends. Is it was cute at first when the javelinas were coming around and eating the birdseed down at the bottom, but then they decided to start coming up on our porch, and sometimes we would put the duck blankets outside before they were getting get laundered, and then they started dragging the duck blankets away and tearing those up. We found them, pulled the duck blankets down underneath our little porch steps one night, and were sleeping underneath there. That's all pretty dangerous. And then in the end, we ended up having to stop getting our Misfits grocery order delivered, and we couldn't even order things like coffee off of Amazon or anything like that, because everything that was left up on the porch, they decided was for them, and they would tear up and destroy, even if it wasn't for them. It was not only us that was having problems, neighbors having problems, UPS guys being scared away, but they're so cute. And what else are we up to? We are growing a lot of plants. Here are the squashes that we grew. They would not flower and then grow fruits, so we learned how to cross-pollinate them manually. That was very interesting. Casey rescued an African violet from one of the employee houses that was emptied and he was cleaning out, and then he learned how to propagate African violets, and we had about a half dozen of these little pretty things growing throughout the house, glistening and looking so cool. We also bought 3 cherry trees. We are going to bring them out to the property and hope that they survive and do okay out there. It'd be nice to have some trees out there. When we moved into this house, there was a tiny little pepper plant left behind. Here I am gardening. In the garden that I've got going right here, we've got some, we didn't grow the squash, those didn't come from us, but herbs. We've got basil and chives and rosemary and all kinds of great stuff, so always some herbs on hand for cooking a nice dinner. And of course I'm still making homemade bread. Back to the pepper though, so we ended up growing peppers very successfully indoors. What a treat it is to just pull a pepper off the vine in the living room and then take it into the kitchen and eat it. Here's some of the delicious basil. I made pesto, and we had all kinds of great basil dishes. This is a bok choy growing and some lettuces growing, and these are all just things that we sprouted from the leftover food scraps we had. Now, as far as adventures in food go, I was getting Misfits this year, and there are a lot of interesting things I got there, like this cauliflower fractal thing. And we did have a couple of tomatoes that we grew successfully, but not very many. I tried making homemade hot dog buns. That came out well. Failed almond raspberry cookies. That didn't work out. I made blackened garlic. It cooked for 3 weeks in the rice cooker to make it. I made garlic butter out of it and all kinds of different things. I made homemade empanadas with even homemade pastry dough. These are those little potato pasta things with a tomato ricotta sauce. Also mastered the granola and homemade yogurt. Made a couple pizzas for Casey. I'm not that fond of them, but he likes them. Con queso dip and guacamole. Here is part 2 of that sauce. You saw the homemade pasta I made, and here's a homemade sauce as well. One of our former coworkers left this recipe behind, and it's actually really easy to make. I had no idea, and it tastes so good. Homemade pasta sauce. And this was a big, huge adventure. So one of our coworkers, his parents, they are ranchers, and they have sheep. So this is a sheep. Came to us quartered up, whole sheep that I bought, and then Casey got me a hacksaw, and I butchered it down from there. So after watching videos on it, I spent a whole day in the kitchen. We've got short ribs and long ribs. I had 2 leg of lambs, 2 shoulders of lamb. I had the backbone cut in pieces. I did a whole bunch of other cuts as well that I can't remember the name of now. All said and done, it was a really interesting experience. A lot of work to cut it all up and kind of messy and everything, but all said and done, I really enjoyed this opportunity. Here it is all sitting out on the counter, bagged up, labeled, and ready to go into the freezer. I had meals and meals for months out of all of this delicious food. And here I am assembling a marinade so that I can marinate and slow cook some of the rib bones, and they came out so good. So ribs with golden beets and purple potatoes for dinner. Here's another meal that I made of the ribs. It was Brussels sprouts roasted with Casey's mom's recipe, which is delish. And there's the ribs after they got out of the slow cooker. Had that with a side of wild rice. Great dinner. I don't have pictures of any of the leg of lambs or anything else that I did, although they all came out delicious. I also decided to try a lamb dish, an Indian curry lamb dish. First time I've tried to do anything like that with my homemade yogurt, and that turned out really incredible as well. Lots of wonderful food adventures.